Imagine you are sitting in a rundown local diner. You have exactly $10 to your name.
Okay, but where is this going?
The door opens and Bill Gates walks in, sits at the counter. Suddenly, according to standard global economic metrics, the average person in that diner is a billionaire.
Well, mathematically, sure, but...
You are mathematically wealthy, even as you physically cannot afford to buy a cup of coffee. That deception of averages is the unacknowledged fatal bug running our current operating system of ownership and accumulation.
Look, you are deliberately framing the fundamental mechanism of macroeconomic stability as a bug.
It is not a bug. The global data systems and AI metrics we use to calculate macroeconomic health are operating as a digital blindfold. They actively hide the physical reality of survival costs and localized resource depletion.
We need averages. Modern statistics and economics, they were forced to treat humans as uniform actors out of absolute necessity. You are talking about the global economy.
We require a total systemic debugging through circular capitalism.
I mean, if our data systems attempted to track the complex noise of 8 billion individual life forms, trying to calculate every specific localized resource imbalance, the processing system would fail instantly.
You assume the only alternative to a centralized average is a centralized omniscient computer. That is the bias of the current operating system.
It is the reality of computational limits. Averages are not some malicious deception. They are the required compression algorithm that allows us to manage human civilization from the top down.
Management from the top down is an illusion.
What you call the consumer price index, we use a basket of goods to measure average inflation so central banks can adjust interest rates and prevent the collapse of fiat currency. Without aggregated averages, you do not have an economy, you have chaos.
What you call a compression algorithm is simply digital correction fluid. It erases the physical truth.
It doesn't erase anything, it aggregates.
When your consumer price index averages out the cost of a flat-screen television dropping by 50% against the cost of a localized housing market increasing by 200%, the algorithm reports stable inflation.
Because macroeconomically, it is stable.
The math balances perfectly on a spreadsheet in a central bank. Meanwhile, the human being on the ground is evicted. Mixing extreme outliers, the ultra-wealthy with excessive capital, together with bottom-tier resource depletion, creates a statistical hallucination.
You're completely misrepresenting the scale here. Your diner analogy and your inflation critique deliberately misrepresent the purpose of national data sets. We do not manage the global economy diner by diner or apartment by apartment.
It completely obscures the true survival costs being paid by biological life forms in physical space.
We manage the structure. When we look at the macro-level data, we see global poverty decreasing over a 50-year timeline. We see 98% system health, the overarching capitalist architecture is functioning and stable.
A car dashboard reporting 98% average parts health is mathematically accurate and physically meaningless when the front right tire is missing.
Yes, there are localized issues, but wait, a missing tire?
The steel axle is shooting sparks onto the asphalt, and a fatal fire is igniting in the wheel well. The engine block is perfectly cold. The rear tires have excellent tread.
A missing tire is a localized anomaly.
The system averages it all out and proudly reports safety while the vehicle burns to the ground.
In the real economy, that anomaly creates friction, which creates market demand, which signals the supply chain to replace the tire. The system self-corrects.
It does not self-correct because the system refuses to acknowledge the fire. The average temperature of the vehicle is within acceptable parameters, so the central computer orders the car to keep accelerating.
That is just hyperbole.
Look at the architecture of a smart air conditioning unit operating on your exact macroeconomic logic. Imagine a sealed room. The ceiling of that room is a 50 degrees Celsius hellscape,
Which would never actually happen, but fine.
presenting an immediate fatal heat stroke risk. The floor of that room is minus 20 degrees, presenting an immediate frostbite risk.
So you have extreme variance.
The biological inhabitants of this room are physically dying from exposure, yet the smart AC's central sensor, suspended perfectly in the middle of the room, proudly displays a comfortable 15-degree average.
You are oversimplifying the mechanics of...
The AC unit burns out its motor, blowing useless ambient air to maintain a mathematical fiction while the physical reality of the room becomes lethal. This is not a metaphor. This is the exact, literal functioning of our current economic system.
It is not the same thing.
It maximizes aggregate output to preserve the average, ignoring the fatal extremes it generates. When corporate tech stocks surge by trillions of dollars, while topsoil in the agricultural belt degrades to dust, the GDP averages the two together and reports a thriving economy.
The system does not ignore the extremes. The extremes are precisely where human innovation occurs.
The extremes are where biological systems fail.
When pressure builds in those localized areas, when the floor gets too cold or the ceiling gets too hot, extreme performance spikes in the market push society forward. If topsoil degrades, agricultural technology companies receive massive capital investment to develop vertical farming.
You are describing entertainment camouflage.
I am describing technological leaps. We tolerate the messy, localized friction because the resulting innovations eventually cascade downward and solve those exact localized problems. The overarching data model you want to destroy facilitates the macro stability required for that innovation to happen in the first place.
What you call innovation is a deliberate distraction from the root bug. When the inhabitants of the room begin to suffocate on the flavorless, uniform protein paste of your average economy, the system does not fix the room's temperature.
It innovates.
That would require structural change.
Instead, it suddenly generates a super spicy devil sauce.
A what? A spicy sauce?
A super spicy devil sauce.
A mythos. A shiny, hyper-financialized tech product. It could be generative AI, a speculative cryptocurrency boom, or a virtual reality headset.
Those are massive industries.
It drops a VR headset onto the face of the guy freezing to death on the floor, so he can pretend he is sitting on a warm beach. This mythos is a mythological spike in performance deployed purely to hack human attention.
It is not camouflage, it's the fundamental mechanism of human progress. You cannot simply dismiss massive technological and economic leaps as a distraction or a spicy sauce.
It solves absolutely nothing regarding the physical thermodynamic resource depletion at the bottom of the pyramid. It merely shifts the collective gaze away from the localized death happening on the floor.
These innovations generate real global wealth. They generate real supply chain efficiency. A virtual reality headset requires manufacturing, logistics, coding, engineering, all of which employ the very people you claim are freezing on the floor. You are completely discounting the velocity of money.
They generate an alibi. They do not generate physical resource replacement.
They generate jobs.
The averages you worship exist purely as an alibi for administrators to avoid responsibility for physical reality. The central bank administrator, the tech CEO, the platform monopolist, they all point to the digital spreadsheet as proof of their competence while the physical world degrades.
Because the spreadsheet tracks the macro stability.
It is the exact equivalent of a captain on a sinking cruise ship telling the first-class passengers to keep the cocktail party going because the average flooding across all decks is only 5%.
You are demanding an impossible utopian standard of perfection.
I am demanding physical reality.
No data system in the history of human civilization can track the exact water level in every single cabin of the ship in real time. We must focus on the macro-structural integrity of the vessel. We must focus on what is clean, what is working, and maintain societal order.
The top-down management you are defending is the ultimate protection racket for centralized platforms and billionaires.
If we abandon these macroeconomic data models, we abandon the very tools that allow us to maintain any semblance of civilization. We have to polish the systems we have, we keep the core functioning, and we incrementally improve the localized friction points.
You are aggressively defending a robotic vacuum.
I am defending structural economics.
You are defending a Roomba.
Your macroeconomic system reports a 90% average cleanliness by obsessively polishing the already clean center of the room.
Because that's where the core capital is.
The clean center of the room represents centralized tech profit stock indices and digital asset accumulation.
The machine makes the exact same passes over the exact same spotless tiles, and it completely ignores the mountain of toxic plastic trash, drained aquifers, and collapsed supply chains accumulating in the corner of the room.
It does not ignore them, it just takes time for the algorithm to map the perimeter.
It ignores them because the plastic trash is mathematically inconvenient. It falls outside the uniform parameters of the financial model. Environmental degradation cannot be neatly packaged into quarterly GDP growth, so the machine simply avoids the corner entirely.
It doesn't avoid it,
And eventually dies in the garbage as a piece of cold, useless scrap iron. This is the inevitable thermodynamic death of an economy that ignores true resource circulation.
We can adjust the sensors of the vacuum. The current system of averages is flawed. I'm not denying the limitations of the data, but it remains structurally necessary to prevent total economic collapse. We can patch the models.
You cannot patch a fatal bug.
We can adjust the consumer price index and GDP calculations to weight bottom-tier resource depletion more heavily. We can integrate environmental impact algorithms into the central data systems. We can find a middle ground between the macro stability we have now and the hyper-localized physical resource tracking you are demanding.
There is no middle ground. You cannot patch a fatal bug with the exact same centralized logic that originally created it. The current system will inevitably burn itself out because it is fundamentally at war with physical thermodynamics.
So we just tear it all down?
The only way to survive is to abandon the digital smokescreen of averages entirely. We must sever the extreme wealth outliers from our calculation of bottom-tier reality. We must restore the complex noise of individual survival pain and local resource limits into the core mechanical calculation of our resource distribution.
The system would crash.
When I say circular capitalism, I mean enforcing local thermodynamic accounting. The physical cost of extraction must be deducted immediately at the source. Transitioning to circular capitalism, physically repairing the environment, and operating entirely on the reality of finite resources is not a moral choice, and it is not a theoretical debate. It is the only rational investment for survival.